Welcome back, scientists. It's time for another day's part lesson. This one is the third part, and it's called Explain. Now, the Explain part has a lot of directions. And since this is our first textbook assignment, we're going to keep it pretty basic. In the directions, they're going to talk about making a video or making a poster or making some kind of elaborate skit. We're not going to do that this time. So, remember that question from Engage? Well, here it is again. How do minerals differ from one another and from rocks? So what your job is today is to think about everything you've learned so far about minerals. And I want you to think about making a scientific explanation. So a scientific explanation is going to have basically three parts. First, you have to state what you're claiming, what you claim to be true. And so in this one, you would probably say that minerals are different from rocks because of this and this. And you would use reasons from the text. And then you would say, I know minerals can be different from each other because they have different, and then you might finish that sentence based on what you've learned from the previous 2 days exploration and engage activities. Then you are going, so that's the first part. First, you have to tell what you know, what you believe to be true. That's your claim. Okay. The second part is you're going to give me some evidence to support that claim. How do you know that rocks and minerals are not the same thing? How can you prove that to me or to other scientists? How can you prove that one mineral is different from another mineral? What are you going to use to prove that? What could you talk about or what could you write about and show to support that claim? And then finally, the reasoning that connects the evidence to the claim. So you're going to show what reasoning, what thinking helped you determine that all of that is connected together, that your claim and your evidence, how did you come to that conclusion? Okay, so here's where you could work as a scientist. It says use models or diagrams, present charts and data, graphs or text, or record a spoken presentation. So I'm going to say that for this one, you probably are going to want to just write your explanation right here. If you want to record it on a Flipgrid, I could open up a Flipgrid, but I think for this time, since it's our first one, we probably just want to keep it simple and just write out our answer. Okay, so later on, we'll get into some of these other ideas with the studio or with audio and video. But for right now, I think we're just going to keep it simple and write out an answer. There is a rubric, so I'm looking for you to write out your claim so that it answers the question and so that it's testable. Okay, and then over here it goes down to 0. The claim does not answer the question, or maybe you didn't have a claim, so then that would end up being a 0. Or you might be somewhere in the middle. So for evidence, the evidence helps answer the question, and the evidence comes from different sources. So you might need to tell where you read that, where you got that information from. And you need to make sure that you have enough evidence, that you don't just tell one way. It's kind of like in reading when you use evidence as text support. And so I know that in 3rd grade you've learned that you have to have 2 to 3 details to support that idea that you're coming up with for like a reading comprehension question. So you want to have that evidence, and then you want to have all the ideas need to link the evidence together are present. And so you want to think about, is this reasonable? How did you come up with that answer? Okay. If you have questions about this part, make sure you ask me in private comments. This is something new, and it's going to be worth 20 points on your whole assignment grade. And so I really want you to think about this one carefully. And probably on Friday's Zoom, we'll talk a little bit more about this in depth. And we'll have some examples and some non-examples of how we're going to write this out. Okay? All right, well, if you have questions, make sure you ask. And I hope you have a good time thinking like a scientist today.